Greetings, friends. Welcome to CTUCC ConferenceCast for January 10th, 2013, the regular podcast of the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ. Whoever you are, and wherever you may be on life's journey at this very moment, you are welcome here. We begin this week's podcast with this reflection from the Reverend Evita McCallister, Associate Conference Minister for Youth and Young Adult Ministries. Day received a gift last weekend. She spent it at Silver Lake with a group of young people who are thinking about working for God for a living. They spent a good deal of time with the Apostle Paul, who wrote in the 4th chapter of 2 Corinthians about offering the treasure of God's good news through the clay jars that is our frailty and imperfection, to show that this extraordinary power belongs to God and not to us. And as the weekend closed, each young person took a moment to tell us what they believe, and from that belief, what they will speak. The experience brought another text to Day's mind.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Jesus' words in the Sermon on the Mount in the 5th chapter of Matthew. You are the light of the world. Here's how these young people let their light shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I believe that faith builds strength to help you through anything, that God has a plan for you, and that He never gives you more than you can handle. He'll never leave you alone in your hardest times, and He pushes you to keep fighting because you have a purpose, and He always shows you support so that you can get through anything.
I believe that we need to ask God for help to break through the clay and reveal the treasure that we may not have even known that we had. People are sometimes afraid to break through the clay because society wants us to conform and stick to the status quo. But people need to break through the status quo in order for new things to happen.
I believe God gives each of us a little light to shine, and a little light is enough. I think sometimes we feel like we are not worthy to be bearers of the light, that the call to carry the light is too much for us. But this scripture passage that we talked about this weekend reminds us that we will not be abandoned, not be in despair, not be destroyed, and so I think it gives us courage to carry the light.
I believe that everyone carries with them the death of Jesus. We all have made sacrifices, and sometimes we might make the wrong decision, or sometimes we make the right decision. But God is with us, and if we make the wrong decision, He's there to forgive us. And to me, faith is being able to trust God with my life and with the decisions that I make.
What I believe is that no matter how many times you've been struck down, no matter in what way or by who, by how many, that as long as you believe and as long as you want to, there's always room to pick yourself up no matter what.
Mm-hmm. I really believe that God made us so that we do get struck down. I believe that we're meant to get struck down because if we aren't, then how's God going to be there to help us? We have to learn from our situations that do strike us down, and we have to ask God for help, and we can't ask for help unless we get struck down. So I really believe that He made the human race, and with the idea that we would face trials and tribulations that we have to ask for help for, because that's why he's there, right?
I believe that miracles are possible with God's help, and that when you are struck down and injured, God has the power to heal you. All you have to do is believe in God, and that anything is possible with God's help.
I believe that the life of Jesus is constantly revealed on this earth through the presence of hope. In my eyes, hope is the smallest shimmer of just one single star on the darkest night. The winding trials of this life bring us sorrows that are intense and numerous. But I believe that through these hardships, Christ provides solace and, above all, hope for a new dawn.
I want to say what I believe. I believe in you. Each and every one of you. I believe in the call of God on your lives to change this world. And it gives me hope and courage and strength all the days of my life. And I'm grateful for each of you, for what you bring to this circle, what you bring to us. And I'm grateful for my colleagues and friends who make this possible, who fill in the gaps, the things I cannot do, the things I struggle with, who make space for us to be together.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
We heard there from TAWFG members, shepherds, and mentors Rachel, Olivia, Debbie, Brittany, Adam, Sonia, Connor, Kaylee, and Day McCallister. Here is a prayer for this week. God, my prayer is for the courage to allow my little light to shine this week. May it shine in my actions and in my words. I pray that this little light of mine is a reflection of the light of the world, Jesus Christ. Allow my witness to point others to your work and word in the world. Amen. Please hold in prayer this week the family and friends of the Reverend Ralph E. Beats, who began his long career in ministry at the Broadbrook Congregational Church in 1948. He died on December 12th. Please remember as well the family and friends of the Reverend Arthur C. Weil, who led the Rocky Hill Congregational Church UCC for 24 years, and as he began retirement served as minister of visitation at First Church in Glastonbury. He died on January 3rd at the age of 96. In the news this week, in light of the deadly shootings in Newtown in December, UCC leaders have begun to raise their voices in search of solutions to the problem of gun violence. In an essay on our website this week, the Reverend Stephen Camp, Senior Minister of Faith Congregational Church UCC in the North End of Hartford, writes, "Guns cannot and must not speak louder than peace. Evil acts cannot have the last word. The wider community, urban and rural, city and suburb, law enforcement, education, medical communities, those political and those religious, the movers and shakers, as well as the average citizen, all of us must awaken to our responsibility to find sensible answers to these complicated questions before us. No longer can we sleep. We must awaken to a day where what has been shall not be what our future holds." In the northwest corner of the state, a dozen UCC pastors and leaders from 10 congregations, including Tim and Ann Hughes at Silver Lake Conference Center, have signed a proclamation of sanctuaries of peace. It declares that children have the right to live free of the threat of gun violence, accidental or intentional. We hereby declare our homes, our churches, and our communities to be sanctuaries of peace, reads the proclamation. We pledge to work together to create safe, firearm-free sanctuaries for our children, communities, families, and neighbors. We further urge our congregants, neighbors, and all people of faith and good reason to take clear steps to remove deadly assault weapons from their homes. Other ministers of all traditions have been signing on to the Connecticut Clergy United to Prevent Gun Violence letter issued by the Interfaith Council of Southwestern Connecticut. The UCC's Collegium of Officers has also raised the issue, writing in December, "We must renew our efforts to control guns and thereby prevent violent tragedies such as this. We must learn how to place our trust in God, not in arms. We must turn swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks." Among the UCC Centers for Outdoor Ministry, the Franklinton Center at Bricks is distinctive. Located in Whitakers, North Carolina, it stands on a property once used to break people into slavery. It now serves as a center for programs that focus on the renewal of justice. Board member Elivet Mendez Angulo, a member of Manancial de Gracia UCC in New Britain, describes it as a place transformed, where history rooted in the pain of oppression now offers healing. Find these stories and all the current headlines on our website at ctucc.org/news.
As the sun finally shines a little longer this spring, imagine your bare feet greeting the warm sand between your toes.
Imagine the fireflies sparkling along the tree line above the campfire.
Hear the singing floating over the hill from the Waterfall Chapel.
Revel in the delight of discovering a new best friend in the bunk above you.
In your imagination, you're at Silver Lake already for a week-long outdoor ministry experience that changes lives and makes friend-making easy.
Greet God in God's backyard at Silver Lake this summer. Learn more and register at www.silverlakect.org.
God is working through all the people who fill our lives with hope and care and grace.
There's still room to register, but hurry, we're filling up.
We look forward to welcoming you to Silver Lake, your conference center.
Back, watching the firefly.
Registration for Silver Lake Summer Conferences opens on January 15th. The summer brochure has arrived in homes and churches, and you can always find more information about those programs at silverlakect.org. Jim Forbes, the senior minister emeritus of the Riverside Church in New York City, will be coming to Newtown to meet with clergy on January 20th. Valerie Bridgman will speak about gun violence at Hartford's Martin Luther King Jr. Service of Celebration on the 21st. The Fifth Tuesday discussion series takes up the question of interim ministry in a changing landscape on January 29th in Rocky Hill. The first Stepping Stones workshop of 2013 will be that same evening in Southington on equipping parents to nurture faith at home. This year's Woodbury Leadership Workshop at Andover Newton features Phyllis Tickle on the future of the church. Leadership for a Rummage Sale is the title she gives her presentation, due on February 1st. Advanced Intentional Interim Minister Training will be held in Framingham, Massachusetts, February 4th through 8th. CT Women of the UCC are planning a Lenten Day Away for clergy women on February 5th. Save the date now for Leadership Matters, a day-long educational event for pastors, educators, and all kinds of church leaders. The event, the successor to last year's March in the Sun, will be March 9th in South Glastonbury. And registration is now open for the Northeast Ecumenical Stewardship Council's annual 2-day event titled Liberating Generosity and featuring Michael Piazza, running March 15th and 16th in Boxborough, Massachusetts. You can always learn about what's coming up in the Connecticut Conference by visiting us at ctucc.org/events. And that brings this ConferenceCast to a close. Thanks to Dave McCallister and the TAWFG members for our reflection, and to GarageBand for our music. Primary funding for ConferenceCast comes from your congregation's gifts to our church's wider mission, basic support, changing lives through the United Church of Christ. This is Eric Anderson, the Minister of Communications and Technology for the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ, praying that your days this week may be filled with the presence, the guidance, and the grace of God.